So in the previous video, we talked about empires during the second wave of civilization. Specifically, we addressed the Achaemenid and the Han Empire. And today, we're going to follow the same pattern. We're going to discuss Rome. Now, the Roman Empire at its height was the most extensive political and social structure in Western civilization. The most famous quote that we all keep hearing is Rome wasn't built in a day. But how exactly was it built? And the entire quote actually is Rome wasn't built in a day, but it burned in one. So we're going to see how exactly that is applicable and how accurate that is based on the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. Now let's first discuss how it all began, like it often does with a king. So there is this guy called Numitor. Okay, he is a king and he has a wife, obviously, a queen called Rhea. Now Numitor's brother Amulius, he killed him, basically took his throne, and he forced Rhea, the queen, to become a Vestal virgin so that she could not have any children who might, want to take back the throne and claim to be heirs. However, Rhea manages to get pregnant and she has two twins, Romulus and Remus. Now, she claims that these are sons of the god of the god of war, Mars, who is the Roman equivalent of Ares. They copied the Greeks, but anyway, so Romulus and Remus are born. Now Amulius is confused because he cannot kill the kids for the fear of angering Mars, but he cannot let them live in the palace because then they are clearly the heirs while he isn't, right? So what he did is he put them into a basket and threw them into the Tiber. He hoped they would drown and he would not be held to blame. However, the boys were rescued by a she-wolf who fed the babies with their own milk apparently and cared for them. And now they grew up and they were taken care of by a shepherd and so on. Finally, what happened was they decided that they would kill Amulius and put their grandfather back on the throne. After doing this, they decided to build a city of their own, but they couldn't agree where to build it. Remus, he wanted to build it on a hill, but on Aventine Hill, but Romulus wanted to use the Palatine Hill. Not important, but basically they had an argument and couldn't reach an agreement. So they all began to build their own city with, enclosed walls. And one day Remus visited Romulus and made fun of his wall by jumping over it and saying how easily it could be breached and so on. And Romulus was so annoyed that he just basically killed Remus and said he would kill anyone who mocked his city or tried to break through the walls of Rome and so on. And so Romulus became the first king of Rome. Now the Roman Republic went through phases. So the first phase after that, the entire Romulus Remus was ancient Rome, right? But it was powerful, but not that much until you come to the Roman Republic. So that phase is called before the rise of Rome, and now you have the Roman Republic. Now, during the Roman Republic, you basically had a class system, right? And the class system was such that you had, as you can see over here at the top, you had the major divide was patricians and plebeians. So patricians were people who, were the higher class. And what happens is the patricians were the people in power. So you had, right on top, you had councils. Okay, now councils were two men who were elected yearly, and there were two so that they could balance the power, and these guys basically managed the army and affairs of the government. Now the councils could veto each other, so they kind of created this balance of power. Below them you have praetors, who are basically judges who administered Roman law, so people were actually that advanced at that time. Then you have financial administrators and you have aediles and so on. Another important section was the Senate, who there were 300 past magistrates who served for life, and those senates, they gave advice to the councils. So far the order is you have your three sections of patricians, and then you have the senate, and then you have the council. Now below them there's the patrician classes. So you have your tribunes, who are the representatives of the plebeians. They're very less, they're only 10, they're not given that much power. So you can see how, suppressed they were. Then you have ordinary people, and you have slaves. Now along with slaves, you also have women. At that time, women were given literally no rights, because they were either considered property of the father, who decides to sell them to either the highest bidder or whoever he wishes, and then later her husband. So there is no right for women as slaves at all. Now the main conflict was patricians versus plebeians at this whole time, and what happened is this kind of weakened the Roman Empire, right? Because these people were falling and fighting, and the patricians at one point actually got so scared that they decided to give all the power to the first triumvirators and Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. Actually, what happened is because of the weakening of Rome and the Roman Republic, you had Caesar and Pompey and Crassus rising to power. Let's talk about each of these. So the Roman Republic was run by elected officials, but now the next stage of the Roman place was becoming the Roman Empire. Now, how it became the Roman Empire from the Roman Republic was initially through the first triumvirate. Now, the first triumvirate was nothing but a political alliance between three, because powerful men in the Roman Republic. So you have Gaius Julius Caesar, you have Marcus Lynceus Crassus, and you have Gnaeus Pompey. Now what happened is the first triumvirate was directly responsible for making three men, the three most powerful men in Rome. And this eventually created Julius Caesar to become the eventual dictator of Rome for a really short period of time. We don't count that, but between the Roman Republic and Roman Empire, you have a small, really short period of dictatorship. Now, Julius Caesar was born to a minor Roman political family. He was very hardworking, cunning, and determined, and so he worked his way up as a military man and politician. He was very popular, but he did not have money. Crassus, on the other hand, he was one of the wealthiest men in the history of Rome. He was a general and a politician, and he helped defeat a slavery revolt led by Spartacus. Now there was a separate war of Spartacus that happened on one side. And Pompey was a tremendously successful military leader who will earn the title Magnus, which means the great, at a very young age. Now Crassus and Pompey actually hated each other because during the Spartacus revolt, Pompey got the credit for the military genius, while it was actually Crassus who planned the entire thing. So Caesar kind of acted like a buffer between the two. However, on the other hand, Caesar and Pompey were both very, very strong personalities. So Crassus also kind of acted as a buffer, and Caesar saw that. So what he did was he married his sister to Pompey to strengthen the bond. Now, Crassus and Pompey worked as councils, which would, remember I showed you the class structure, but they obviously had a grudge between them. Now, Caesar was the one that kind of reconciled them, and with their combined influence, they managed to get Caesar to become a council. Now, between Caesar's popularity, Crassus's wealth, and Pompey's influence over the military, these three made a really powerful force working together. Their alliance was actually kept a secret. The first triumvirate was kept a secret until the Roman Senate, the 300 patricians and 10 plebeians, kind of blocked Caesar's proposal to establish colonies of Roman citizens and distribute public lands to them. So Caesar quickly revealed his alliance, and together they pushed his reforms into law, and slowly, this guy basically became a dictator.